have been a very frightening moment to see Jesus doing this, and we are sort of aware of frightening moments like this in our own time, of scenes like this. In fact, it being the time of the Passover, Jerusalem would have been very full of many different nationalities. Maybe we could think of the beginning of the Olympic Games or something, where many people come to live with other people in the town during those weeks. And also you're on edge to some degree because you don't know if anything's going to happen. And the Romans were there for the Pasch. They brought in divisions into Jerusalem ready for any uprising, because the Passover was a very nationalistic kind of feast for the Jews. It was of the Exodus. So, of course, feelings would always be going back to when we were freed from slavery. And here were the Romans looking down at them inside the temple. They had a tower built up next to the temple, and the Roman guards could look down at everything going on in the temple all the time, like a kind of watchtower. So it was very tense kind of moment, and today you know that if you pick up a weapon, anything can happen to you from the police, isn't that right? Or if they think you've got a weapon. So here's Jesus making a whip and then using it. You can just imagine how much everything was on edge at that moment. So, so we know, and now today is, we're heading for a century, but today is the day of the February Revolution in Russia, almost a century ago now. And of course, that was connected with the hunger of the people in Russia and wanting to overthrow or at least protest against the Tsar at that time. Yesterday, of course, was the anniversary of the Selma March. And so we see in our own time how you get these revolutionary moments, and they are very frightening when they come. That time in Russia was frightening for them, and as we know, it led to deeply shaping the whole of the 20th century, and still is echoing today. China, Britain has its reform movement, France, Germany, the United States, and these, at times that the people feel oppressed, or that there is no other choice except to get out there and protest, well, it becomes very frightening. So this scene, I think, of Jesus cleansing the temple is far different from that icon that we have back there, where he says, "Let the little children come unto me," the gentle Jesus, the loving Jesus. This is the other one. This is like Jesus the Leninist, if you like, in a way. That was certainly how it was seen. So that's a very mild response from them. Where do you get the authority to do this? I'm sure there was much more going on in their minds than that simple little question, where do you get the authority to do this? And in the other Gospels, this leads to his crucifixion. So you could see how it's very closely connected with all those politics, the crucifixion in the other Gospels, but not in this one. There's a puzzling thing, though, because only 2 chapters later, Jesus is saying to the woman by the well, the time will come when you worship neither here on Mount Gerizim nor in Jerusalem, but in spirit and in truth. So in other words, even while he's cleansing the temple, he doesn't see that the temple is critical for the worship of God, which the whole of Judaism would say, what are you talking about? Where do you get the authority to say that? The time will come when people do not worship here, nor in Jerusalem. And I think it's pretty clear that for Jesus, the spirit, the inner life, the heart, and the worship of God is what is important. So I think when he's saying here, don't make my Father's house into a marketplace. If he's speaking about the inner life and the heart, then it's as if you can hear the echoing of these words, don't make my Father's house. What is my Father's house? It's your heart and my heart that is my Father's house. And that's what he's saying, don't make into a marketplace. Don't make your heart into a marketplace. And you get the 10 Commandments here too, which you could take as a promise. The 10 Commandments are in two halves. The first 4 of them are the theological, they're oriented towards God, our duty towards God, and the other 6 are our duty towards society. And at the beginning of them, it's all about worship God, don't turn to idols, don't make images of other things, keep the Sabbath holy. All of these are about focusing our hearts upon God. And the second one is, of course, about lying and adultery and stealing, and it ends up with what Paul considers to be the most important commandment, or the one which gathers the rest into it. The last one, as you know, is about coveting. Don't covet. So at the end of the 10 Commandments, you have 2 completely different approaches. The one where our heart is meant to be focused on God in every way, at all times. And at the other end of the commandments, it's saying don't covet. But when you look at those revolutions, the Russian Revolution, the March on Selma, every other revolution that I've mentioned and protest that we've had, they come because of that 10th commandment, coveting. Somehow, some people have to get more than other people. And they keep getting more and more and more. And the others keep getting less and less and less. In all of those revolutionary situations we've spoken about. So it's when Jesus says, don't turn my Father's house into a marketplace, it really echoes with why these revolutions come about. Because in every society, the hearts are turned into marketplaces in the end. And we do get caught up with desires, lust, either sexual lust, or lust for a better motor car, or coveting the job that somebody else has, or what we think the life is that they have that's better than ours. Our hearts constantly get dragged into that, don't they? There's that line in the psalm that we have, about 4th or 5th from the end. Don't let my heart become pervaded by sin, because our hearts do. So here's the challenge that Jesus has on the 3rd Sunday of Lent, is look at your heart. As the Franciscan tradition says, guard the heart, from one of the Proverbs. Guard the heart, for everything flows from it, good or bad. So what are our hearts like? I think all of us, certainly me, can, during this Lenten time, look into my heart and say, where are those things that I'm so fearful about, that I grasp so much about, that I don't trust God for, that my heart is not open to Him fully? Those things that I covet, those things that I want, those things that shut me off from looking towards the grace of God. It's this challenge that Jesus puts to those people in Jerusalem. Is a challenge still to us today, and a challenge every day to keep our hearts open to Him. So in this moment before we stand for the creed, just make it a little prayer in your own heart. Have a look there. Are there some things you could be letting go during this week? What are some things I could be letting go, not clinging on to so much? In the name of Christ. Amen.